wanted to come in to have a quick chat with you and just share with you what my thoughts are about love, self-love. What is self-love really? Because, on Valentine's Day, or typically a lot of any other days, people get asked, about their relationship with who they are in relationship with somebody else, particularly their partner. How are you going? How are you and your partner going? How are you and your child going, or children going? How are you going with your family? But I want to ask you, how are you going? And I really love this concept, this idea around about self-love, because what is it really? Well, I'm going to share a few thoughts with you today about what I believe self-love really is, and 5 habits that I do on a daily basis to really initiate deep self-love practices. So self-love, well, I used to think with absolute conviction that I loved myself, and by doing practices like going for a massage, or maybe even doing some things that I love, or maybe doing regular hygiene practices, taking care of myself, right, meant that I love myself. But what I found is that, yes, those are practices of acts of self-care which contribute to loving yourself, taking care of yourself, but they don't necessarily mean self-love. And for example, you could be going for a massage and have a download of thoughts junking up inside your head to create this real junkyard experience, right? And so your brain just keeps going into overload. Or maybe you're doing something for yourself, but then you're feeling this guilt for doing it, or thinking about what you should be doing instead. Or it might be that you are taking care of yourself and then you feel like, well, maybe I should be taking care of other people's needs as well in this moment. And so you're not really present with yourself. I know that for me, when I used to believe that I really took care of myself and loved myself. But what I found, what my turning point was, is after a series, a lot, of choosing relationships that would reflect back to me that I had abandoned my self-love in fear of being abandoned by somebody else. And so I was really invoking a lot of toxic experiences, very unhealthy patterns, where it really impacted my self-esteem and what I really believed about myself, and believing that I was worthy and good enough. So even though I was being fit and I was making success in my career and my online business and financially savvy and really high achieving, what I was also doing at a deep subconscious level was really avoiding really owning love for myself. And that got reflected back to me until I literally drew a line in the sand and said, you know what? This business of abandoning me because I was so afraid of being abandoned by somebody else, it's got to stop. And I'm going to relearn, repattern to really deeply, truly love myself from deep within. And so what is self-love really? I believe that self-love is a state of being. It's a state of even believing. It's not just a state of acting, because we can all act and do practices, but if those practices are not embedded with depth of true ownership of self-love that's rooted deep in a sense of believing that we're worthy, that we're loving, that we are deserving of love, that we are love and light, well then all those other things are just practices, and they can be muddied up with the junkyard thoughts is what I call it. Does this make sense? If you get any connection with this, let me know in the comments section below. So here are 5 healthy habits that I made as practices for me on a daily basis to make that shift into true deep self-love. One is really going to look into the shadow aspect of all the beliefs that had been coming up for me about my value. If I ever questioned myself whether I was enough or worthy or deserving of something, that was something that I needed to look at within myself and shift those beliefs to say, yeah, I am enough, I am worthy, and I am valuable. But can I actually invite you to a new level of conversation? Because truthfully, I'm bored of this whole am I enough business, which is a fundamental root belief that is fractured and dysfunctional for the majority of human beings. Can we just agree that it's flawed? And can we just shift the whole focus to being, I am a being of love and light, that is such a great experience, isn't it? Like, doesn't it make you feel better? I know for me, it totally makes me feel a whole lot better than questioning of, am I enough? Screw enough. Who wants to be just enough? Why not be magnificent and be this beautiful starlight of love and light that you are, and that I am as well. We all are. So, but that's a lot easier said than done, right? Because all the programming that goes on in our heads from the years of growing up with parental unconsciousness, perhaps, or if you had conscious parents, lucky you. I mean, it's a rare thing, right? Or maybe it was exposure to teachers or caregivers or influential people in your life that really imprinted and projected their limiting beliefs on you about their not enoughness, so then you just bought into those as lies as well. And here's the thing that is really true. Maybe someone has told you that you're not enough, or they've rejected you for some reason, and you've bought into the belief that it's not enough. It's not that act that is still perpetrating your experience of being enough and feeling love and light. It's the fact that you're still believing it. So it comes back to this self-belief around being love and light, and choosing that consciously for yourself, but also choosing it subconsciously, because that's what drives us. Our beliefs are subconscious. It doesn't matter what we choose consciously, it's what we really believe subconsciously. So making sure that you're really aligned with those deep-rooted beliefs with what you're saying out here, because what you're saying verbally needs to match with your vibration of your enoughness, your lightness, your love. So that was something that I really wanted to touch base with. And a lot of that comes, it's practice. It's not easy. It takes time to reprogram yourself. It takes a commitment to really be willing to do the practices on a consistent daily basis, and to be in a state of rest and rejuvenation, doing things that are fun and light, so that you can recreate the story that you've been telling yourself, all the stories, so that you can feel love and light again about who you really are. There was a time in your life when you felt like that, and it might have been a really long time ago, but you will be able to tap back into that and re-own it and be in a place of self-love. Because, self-love is a state of being and believing before it is a state of acting. And you can do all the principles and practices as you like, but if you really don't believe at a root cause, at a root level, that you are love, well then that's going to line up as a mismatch in your vibration and in everything that you're doing on a daily basis. So I'm just going to have my coffee. I figured I'd have this lovely self-love chat with you while I'm loving up on myself with some one of my favourite activities, which is my morning coffee. So one of the other key things is that connection with yourself. This is number 2. And for me, it's very much about doing more things that bring me joy, that light me up, and really putting energy into those things so that I lift in my vibration, and I'm creating that habit of happiness practice, really filling up my cup from within and being in a joyful state. Now, something I noticed about myself for many, many years is when I did have a fractured sense of my self-esteem, right? When I really questioned whether I was worthy, whether I questioned whether I was enough, whether I questioned I was lovable. And, that kind of got challenged more and more too as I got older and going to more relationships, and then they didn't work out. And so I'd take on all the responsibility of saying that it was me, it was wrong, or judge myself for picking a partner that was really not a healthy partner for me. But ultimately I'd go into this communication sequence of disconnecting with myself and making myself wrong. But then I would be looking for the answers in another person and another person and another person. But every time I did that, I gave away parts of myself to default to fit in with somebody else's values, somebody else's likes and dislikes, somebody else's interests and hobbies. And so what I found is that over the course of literally decades, I started to lose a sense of what is it that even brings me joy? What lights me up? And if you have this question for yourself and you think, gosh, I feel a bit lost, I'm not really sure what makes me happy or what really brings me joy, then don't panic. I'm going to give you some strategies on how I got back to that place for myself. But what happened is that I realized I was giving away those parts of myself to fit in, to be liked, to be enough, to be loved. But ultimately those strategies don't work. But as a result of doing that, I started to forget with who I really am at my core. What are my core values? What is it that I really love doing? What lights me up? What is really exciting for me? What really lifts me with joy, without having to making sure somebody else is happy in the process as well. So it's fine to making sure other people are happy, but not at the cost or sacrifice of self, because then that's not loving yourself. And that's something that I had to learn for myself a lot. It was basically my 40s before I really truly figured that one out. So how to get back to that place is just make a start and just tune in and notice, how do you feel when you're doing something? Like for me, I love going shopping with planning a really healthy meal, and just even getting in the car to go to the seafood shop to pick up my favorite piece of fresh fish, or going to the fruit and veg store where I know that I'm going to get a beautiful organic range of vegetables to choose from. I'm excited when I'm in the car because I'm already imagining all the amazing produce that I'm going to be purchasing, and imagining in my mind about what I'm going to be cooking and creating and enjoying, and maybe even having a glass of wine while I'm cooking. So I'm already in my head going through that whole process, and then I get to live it again because I'm purchasing the produce, and then I get to live it again as I am making the meal and enjoying eating the meal. So for me, I notice how my energy lifts up and how excited I get, and I lose all sense of time. I lose all sense of outside chitter chatter of other responsibilities. I'm just present in the moment, and that's what lights me up and brings me joy. And it could be like going paddleboarding for me, or going for a walk on the beach, or for a walk in nature and through the national park. It might be playing with my son. It might be simply going to have a hot bubble bath and enjoying it with a candle being lit and reading a book. It might be watching my favorite show on Netflix, curled up in bed or on my favorite chair, which happens to be this one. Or one of the other things that I absolutely love doing, because this is my meditation chair as well, I love doing that on a daily practice. It's that moment where I really get to connect deep with the inner sense of me. I get to connect with Source, God, universe, whoever that is for you, but it's your inner self, really connecting deeper in. And for me, that's something that really lights me up, and it really tunes me in, and getting connected with that sense of who I am really, so that I've got healthy sense of self and self-esteem, and I've got healthy boundaries to make choices in my life on a day-to-day basis. And so I know that those choices are then going to be made in the direction that they're loving for myself as well as for others. So that's probably my biggest tip, is with the connection of self, to raise your vibration through doing things that really light you up, that give you more joy. That is self-love. Number 3, I'm going to give you this one. This one is a really, because I know that most of my audience are women, 99% basically. I'm going to talk about this one with probably with the context of women around it, but body and beauty, it's a huge one. And particularly before we did all the social media, it used to be in TV and news and magazines, and now it's in media. We're constant comparison about our body and our image and our appearance with what we see out there, and then we go into comparison, or go into judgment with ourselves, and that's really detrimental to our sense of being. With the filters and all the different things that go on, or you've got the image editing, then we're making our judgments about these flawless pictures or people, but really they're just edited versions of them. And when we really are willing to accept ourselves, our body and our appearance as we are now, that we are beautiful beings of love and light. Beauty truly is a radiance from our vibration, being in this self-love state, being in self-acceptance, where the energy of ourselves is kind and compassionate. We're having that internal conversation that really connects with our body, which is this amazing vehicle that really, it's so forgiving and compassionate. I mean, we as human beings abuse our bodies on multiple levels every single day. With too much caffeine, sometimes I do that, or too much wine, or maybe not enough exercise, or not enough water. Maybe it's overeating, or eating the wrong things. Maybe it's not enough sleep. Maybe it's ignoring the signals that are coming through, which I'm going to talk about in step number 4. But our body and this sense of beauty is, when we're willing to let go of comparing ourselves with anybody else on the planet, and we just focus on ourselves, of being this most beautiful being of love and light, and really focusing on the energy of that love of self, then the communication that we're giving is going to be aligned with joy and love and light, because we're communicating verbally and non-verbally with other people that we are this beautiful being. And in that process, we're actually giving other people permission to believe that they are a beautiful being as well. Because if we're uncomfortable with ourselves, that discomfort gets shown. It's experienced by other people when we're around them. And that judgment of self also gets transferred across. And so people subconsciously will also pick that up, not necessarily feel comfortable, because they will feel judged too. And then they add to that the whole common experience of everybody's got their own junk going on in their head. Does this make sense? Are you following me here? So I wanted to just invite you to really fall in love with your body and really bless it. Give it, say thank you knees. Maybe you got a bunged knee. I know that I've had knees that have had all sorts of things go with them over the years, particularly as I was a paramedic for 8 years and lifting patients and stretchers. It really did a lot for my body, right? Really put a lot of strain and stress on it. And then years as an aerobics instructor, all the different movements with that, really impacted my knees. So maybe one knee it's a bit painful. Then you want to bless that knee anyway and send love, energy, and light and healing to that knee. And you want to bless the other knee as well. Say thank you for being fully supportive, and thank you for leading the way. Thank you for showing me how it feels good to feel good in my knee. And this knee, thank you. You've got a model. You can follow the other knee. I know this sounds a little bit crazy and woo-woo, right? But I promise you, when you speak to your body kindly, it will follow suit. It will do as you instruct it to. If you are berating your knee because it's not functional, it's not working, and my knee's dodgy and this and that, well then that's what you're focusing on, and so you're going to end up highlighting that and experiencing more of that. But if you can shift your energy to focus on what is working, not just in your body, but in your life, really. But also blessing that experience that maybe isn't quite optimal yet, and blessing it so that and seeing it as healed, seeing it as optimal, seeing it as moving forward. And the rest of your body, I mean, if you're a woman and you've had a baby and your body isn't like the size 8, 9, 8 or 10 that it used to be, well then rather than berating yourself, what about the blessing of being able to give life and to be able to provide that awesome experience, not just to that being that's come through, but just the miracle that you were able to have a baby. I mean, how awesome is that? Blessing your body and saying thank you to it. It's, whatever it is for you, I'm just inviting you just to be a lot more kind with yourself and encouraging yourself with blessing you and speaking to yourself like your own best friend, because you wouldn't dare speak to somebody else that way. You'd be unfriended real quick. And it's no wonder that we kind of fracture that sense of self within ourselves and feel uncomfortable if we speak to ourselves unkindly. And the truth is, having worked with thousands of women in spiritual and success coaching, I know that without a doubt that most of us, if we put a megaphone to our head and let the world hear what we're actually thinking, we'd cringe. So I want to invite you to shift the conversation that you're having to be really kind with your body and really highlighting what is beautiful about you and not just making it a physical appearance. In fact, quite honestly, if somebody has a physical beauty but they're really lacking in the emotional beauty, I can tell it straight away and it's not attractive. So, but yet somebody could probably be quite average in what they're looking physically, but they have the most beautiful soul, and that's what's radiant and lights up. And so really put the emphasis on loving yourself and loving all aspects of yourself. That would be my little take on that one. Emotional engagement. Well, this one I'm going to really reflect a little bit more around honouring the energy that is moving in on and around your body. And we pick that up as, we call it emotion, but we will feel it, right? And emotion is energy in motion. And it could be anything from the spectrum of anger and sadness, doubt, grief, worry, anxiety. And it could be right up to feeling courageous or willing or happy or grateful, joyful, loving, right? And the thing is, here's the programming that we often get. We want to shun pretty much all emotions. A lot of what I witness is not only is there's a suppress, depress, repress of all the emotions of the bad stuff, but it's also a rejection of all the good stuff. So if someone says, oh, you're happy, and you're like, it's lovely to see you happy, and then if you rebuttal it with, oh yeah, I'm happy because I got a new iPad today, right? I literally did. That was really exciting. But if you're putting your happiness into something that you've got rather than a state of being and believing, then that happiness is now reliant on that external thing. Whereas, and often I hear, particularly women as well, that will push away those compliments or that witness of that beautiful energy. So what I want to invite you to do is to accept it and say, yes, I am, I'm happy. I feel wonderful, I feel happy. And also acknowledging the icky stuff, right? So because if we don't acknowledge all those feelings, and particularly those ones that we are a little uncomfortable to actually look at, they're going to show up, and they show up in our body, in our physicality. They manifest as dis-ease, manifest as illness, sickness. It might be, let's say, you've been at work with your boss, or you've had a client that wasn't so friendly, and they blasted at you, or they projected their anger at you, and it wasn't about you, but they projected it at you. And maybe you literally, this is what a lot of women will do, they'll gulp it down and swallow it, and then they'll push it away. They won't necessarily address it to that person or within themselves. They'll just carry it. And then maybe you go home, or your partner comes home, and they do one little thing that just might be a little irritating, and you overreact with blasting them with that anger. So that anger that was not transcended, like processed and transcended, that now gets projected onto another being, and it gets passed on, and it creates more conflict and drama and all of that sort of stuff. So what I'm inviting is, with the emotional engagement, is to start witnessing the energy and how you're feeling, and just hold space for it. You don't have to necessarily even do anything with it. Sometimes just witnessing it, being seen, heard, and felt is enough. And then it just allows it to dissolve. And you can even ask, is this my energy or is it not? And we can get to this conversation of whether we're going to accept that is actually something that you can do something about, or you can go, you know what, I'm going to reject that because I see what it is, it's not mine, therefore I don't need to process it. Is that valuable? Is that really cool? If you resonate with that one, if it really connects with you, I'm giving you a little bit of a tip on how I handle that one. So let me know. All right, number 4. This one, I'm going to keep this short, but the company that you keep. Making sure that you're hanging around, with people that lift you up and they're positive and they're happy, because you essentially become your environment. Your environment is what is going to influence you. Now, I say this as a caveat, and I've put this after, well and truly after, doing all the internal work. Because what I witness is too many people are quick to dismiss people who might be temporarily a little negative or offloading, and calling them toxic, or calling them unhealthy, or calling them they don't make me feel good, because it's triggering something within ourselves, right? If you're not willing to first do all that internal work, or it's a constant journey, but be willing to be witness to your internal work, then you can't hold space for somebody else when they are maybe having a temporary experience, something's going on in their life that they don't know how to cope with it emotionally. And if you can't do that within yourself, then you are not providing yourself as the gift, whether you're doing this in your job or as a friendship or family. You can't provide that space for somebody else to allow them the opportunity to work through it for themselves and dissolve it and move on. So yes, be mindful about the company that you keep, but also be mindful about your state of being, of what are you doing to communicate effectively to give another person around you the opportunity to lift up their light and love. Can you do that first before you just dismiss them? Because learning to communicate with ourselves is the number one asset. And if we are not willing to do that, it becomes difficult because we don't communicate with others, especially when it's the awkward conversations. But when we love ourselves and we're willing to have that deep conversation with ourselves, even the awkward ones, then we're able to hold that space and have those awkward conversations with other people, because we no longer see them as awkward. We can just hold the space with loving, energy, because we're not projecting assumptions on other people on what we think they're going to say or how they're going to react or how they're going to receive or reject you. And it's not about fixing them, it's just simply holding a space to love them without judgment. And if somebody, we all have some people in our lives though that they're just perpetually negative Nellies. So yeah, those ones you know who they are, right? So yes, choose to distance yourself, or if they're family and you can't because it's maybe your parents or siblings, I believe you can, because I've done it myself in my life where I've created some really good boundaries to be able to step away from toxic energies thrown my way. But the thing that you want to do is you want to be able to be selective and discerning on who you're spending your time with. You can set boundaries, you can set space, or you can just completely eliminate certain people out of your life if they just really are not raising the standard or the bar of energy that you are choosing to live up to. Number 5, last one, I know this video's gone quite long, but hopefully it's been of great value for you, is giving yourself permission to pursue your dreams. No one else is going to help you. No one else is going to do it for you. It's you and your dreams, creating that clear vision of what it is that you're creating your life for and your business for. What is your life about? What is the purpose of it for you? What are your values, and what choices are you making in accordance to those values? And designing your life and your dreams and setting clear goals that are short-term, medium-term, long-term and lifetime goals that light you up, that excite you, that really give you energy, that you are here doing something that really is purposeful and engaging and fun and adventurous. When we're setting those goals, we're actually saying to ourselves, I love myself so much that I'm giving myself permission to have this, create this, become this. When we don't have any, specific goals that we are pursuing on a consistent basis, we get very lost in what other people are doing, and we start to settle, and we get caught up in drama and gossip and low density energies that don't serve us and they don't serve anyone else. So one of the biggest things is making sure that you are setting course for your life and you're designing your life, living your dreams, you're manifesting on a consistent basis what you are bringing into your world, because you are doing all those self-love activities to raise your vibration in order for you to be able to receive it and allow all that wonderful awesomeness into your life. So if this was really valuable for you, please let me know, because I'd love to provide more content for you. If you love this, just let me know with a comment below. Share some of your self-love practices down below, and maybe some self-love beliefs or affirmations that you share with yourself or tell yourself. Share them with us, and I really look forward to providing some more content for you. In the meantime, please like, love, tag, share and this content, this video, with those that you know would well and truly love receiving this as well. And let's raise the love vibration of this planet by loving ourselves